Hello, I'm Jennifer Weaver, and I'm the Communications and Marketing Manager here at ForeverGreen. I'll be facilitating this webinar, which is the first in a series featuring products formulated by TransArmor Nutrient Technology, created by world-renowned doctors Bala Amabati and Adam Saucedo. But first, I gotta start this out right. I can't do anything without getting my shot of Prodigy 5 every day. That's better. So now let me start by giving you a background of these two amazing men. At the age of 13, Dr. Amabati started college. At the age of 14, he began medical school. And 3 years later, Dr. Amabati was inducted into the Guinness Book of World Records for being the youngest medical doctor in history at the age of only 17. He has won many prestigious awards, but was most recently ranked the #1 eye doctor in the world by the Ophthalmologist magazine. Dr. Saucedo obtained his medical degree in 1993 from the University of Rochester School of Medicine. He was also commissioned in the United States Armed Forces after achieving his medical degree. He was also the founder and managing partner of New Life Centers, one of the largest eating disorder facilities in the world. Both of you have incredible resumes, and I know I just scratched the surface, but I was wondering what inspired both of you to become doctors?
I'll take that question first. As a child, I grew up in Latin America, and I saw a lot of poverty, suffering, and I realized at a pretty young age that I was fortunate to have what I had, being an American, coming from this wonderful country. And I think that was the beginning of my desire to do something to help others. And as I got older, I found an aptitude for science and medicine. And because of that aptitude and a desire to do some good, I gravitated toward medicine.
For myself, when I was 4 years old, I was burned on both my legs. I was in the hospital for about 3 months. Had 3 operations. I saw then, how important the work of doctors and nurses was, and over the years, as I became interested in biology, that really cemented my commitment to medicine, because I was able to combine my science interest with my people interest.
It sounds like you both have a passion for helping people based on your own personal experiences. So how did that influence you creating TransArmor Nutrient Technology?
Well, go ahead.
Well, the project started with me, and the idea came from my work in the Army. I saw that a lot of injured soldiers that I was seeing were recovering at different rates, and I started to look at why, and I saw that one group was in a level 1 trauma center in Ramstein, Germany, with all the facilities that it has. The others were in a field unit hospital, and that in particular, the meals they were getting were quite different. The schedule of meals was quite different, and so I started looking into it, and I found that once they transferred to the level 1 trauma center in Ramstein, they all started to recover more quickly. And I realized it was nutrition that was playing a big part of it. The next big thing that occurred to me in my life was going through an experience with a young lady who was a friend of mine and my family's, who had anorexia. And we watched her get very sick and recover and get sick and recover. And she eventually died at a very young age. And it just struck me powerfully how nutrition impacts our lives. It seems simple, but to see the ramifications of poor nutrition, it really moved me and started me thinking, how can we use nutrition better? And it brought me to the idea of TransArmor Nutrition. And I got to a point where I needed help, and I started thinking of the brightest, some of the most gifted people I knew, and Bala, of course, came to mind. I approached him, and things really blossomed. And now we've got it in Prodigy 5 and other products coming.
Yeah, I agree with Adam completely. The impact of nutrition on health status is tremendous. I see that every day in my profession as an ophthalmologist, because the eye is a window to the body where you can see nerves and blood vessels, and the impact of nutrition on both those critical tissues is tremendous in many different diseases. And even just within the eye, things like macular degeneration, diabetes, glaucoma, and so many other conditions are affected by nutrition. And as part of my training, in addition to ophthalmology, I did internal medicine, and I saw exactly the kinds of experiences that Adam described in his time in the military, where nutrition dramatically affects patient recovery rates.
You know, both of those stories are astounding. And I was just wondering, do you have any personal connections to this technology after it has been created? Dr. Saucedo, could you start?
A personal story about TransArmory? Sure. I have 4 sons. My oldest, his name is Tennyson. And interestingly, he was a professional tennis player from the age of 14 to 26. And health was a huge part of his life. Diet was a very important part of his training and his daily regimen. And Tennyson, more than any of my kids, well, here's some pictures of him, dedicates himself on a daily basis to doing everything he can to live a healthy, happy life. And he started listening to me over the past couple of years as we developed TransArmor about the importance of micronutrients. And he heard this over and over again. So he went to his doctor, independent of me, didn't talk to me at all about it, and had blood work drawn and had all of his vitamin and minerals, serum levels checked. And despite the fact that he weighs everything he eats, he watches everything he eats, he exercises regularly, he strives to live a calm, pressure-free life as much as he can. There were several parameters that were abnormal. And he spoke to his doctor and got on some supplements, and I gave him Prodigy 5, and he has since corrected those. So even somebody who's dedicating themselves on a daily basis with so much fervor runs into problems with micronutrient and nutritional issues. And when I think about people like him doing it, I worry about myself, and I worry about most of the folks watching us. You know, there's a good chance that many of us have some of the micronutrient parameters in our bodies that are not normal.
Great. So with that said, and you created Prodigy 5 from the TransArmor nutrient technology, can you give us just a little bit more about how Prodigy 5 actually works?
Sure. Prodigy 5 has 2 components. The first is the initial phase, the oral phase, and there are 2 molecules that work the moment you drink Prodigy 5 that begin to work in the area of the mouth, the buccal mucosa, to increase absorption of the nutrients in Prodigy 5. So that's the first phase, the absorption in the mouth. The second phase is when you swallow it. There are 2 other molecules that come to play there. One is cyclodextrin, the other is piprin. Cyclodextrin is a circular, kind of tube-structured carbohydrate. And piprin is a linear molecule that is hydrophobic. And these 2 molecules tend to attract. One enters the cavity of the other. And as you swallow it, the piprin is protected by the cyclodextrin. as it transfers through the stomach, which is an extremely harsh environment. As soon as you hit the stomach, the pH drops to around 2. Hydrochloric levels go very high. Other enzymes come to play. It's just a harsh environment. But the cyclodextrin protects it and carries the piperin into the proximal small intestine, where things are less harsh. By that time, cyclodextrin has begun to break down, is broken down, and it releases piperin. And the piperin has several effects on the body to help to facilitate absorption of all the micronutrients and all the nutrients in Prodigy 5. First, it increases the passage through the stomach of everything following that first swallow. So all of the Prodigy 5 that you drink after that first swallow, the stomach is affected. The transit time through it is decreased. So it spends less time in the stomach. It's degraded less. It arrives in the proximal intestine in a more pristine state. It also affects the intestinal cells that do all the absorbing, that absorb all the nutrients. It works at the level of those intestinal cells to improve both active and passive transport of nutrients into the cells. It increases blood flow that carries nutrients from the cells into the liver and then into the circulatory system. So piperin has several effects on the body that augment absorption of the micronutrients in Prodigy 5.
The science behind your technology is mind-blowing, and I'm wondering how we could relay that information, maybe in a demonstration that members could share with their family and friends.
You prepared a demonstration here, and I thank you for it. Here's what it would be like if this is the stomach and intestine, you can see that. And this is just micronutrients, foods, nutrients without any Prodigy 5. And you can see them going into the stomach. You can see this other bottle, which represents the intestine. It's actually being pumped. And that's that's how the stomach and the intestines work. They work through motility. But you can see that most of these micronutrients are collecting. You can see the color in the stomach. That's where they stay, and very little passes into the intestine because of the aggressive environment of the stomach. But when you use Prodigy 5, it protects the micronutrients. So it enters the stomach. It doesn't begin to break down. It's protected. As you can see, the intestine is beginning to move and draw the micronutrients in Prodigy 5 into the intestine. And there it begins to break down. And you can see the color representing the micronutrients that are where they're supposed to be, in the intestine, where the intestinal cells are.
And that would be the small intestine? That would be the...
Yep, right.
Right on. Okay, I understand now. That was much easier to understand. And so I'm wondering, Dr. Amabati, could you tell us, because of this technology, what are the myriad of health benefits that a person can expect?
Sure. So Adam and the demonstration have shown why the TransArmor technology enables a better delivery system, basically a guided missile. Now, what's on the payload of Prodigy 5 is a combination of nutrients, vitamins, and minerals that has been proven clinically to benefit diseases that are problematic for a lot of different patients. So these nutrients include B vitamins, calcium, lutein, zeaxanthin. All of these have been shown to have tremendous benefit in reducing inflammation, which affects many parts of the body. They have antioxidants, which slows down cellular aging. And in both the AREDS clinical trial as well as in the women's health study, the women's antioxidant and health study, there was benefit in reducing the development and progression of something called macular degeneration. Macular degeneration is a blinding disease where you have loss of the retinal cells, the cells that actually see in the eye. And macular degeneration is the leading cause of blindness in America and the West and in many other countries. And so with these clinical trials and with the basis of nutrients that are delivered better in Prodigy 5 by virtue of the trans-armor technology, we have truly a guided missile with an effective payload that can attack many of the damaging stresses from oxidation and stress and poor diet that we tend to experience in the modern diet.
Wow, that's amazing. And I realized that that was a bullet-pointed version of some of the benefits. So here at ForeverGreen, we asked our members to submit questions to both of you. So I would like to start with that. That way we can have more directed questions. And let's just dive in with the very first one. Which nutrients are increased when taking Prodigy 5? And how much higher is the absorption of those nutrients?
So the nutrients that are of special benefit in Prodigy 5 include lutein, zeaxanthin, vitamin B6, vitamin B12, folic acid, and calcium. And so there's a range of nutrients here that I've listed, and on the screen there's other ones including various minerals, amino acids, and herbs. Adam, would you like to address the absorption part?
Sure, absolutely. So as Bala was talking about, when you take Prodigy 5, trans-armor nutrient technology, almost every single nutrient that was engineered into Prodigy 5 is affected by the trans-armor technology. First of all, we developed the suite of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and then we made sure that the trans-armor worked with them. In fact, trans-armor nutrient technology works with at least 39 distinct nutrients, and you saw a list of many. There you are.
Right on. So the next question, actually, we received several that were very similar from all of our markets, and so we kind of compiled them together. So this next one is, I've had persistent eye problems with blocked glands and other minor conditions. Will Prodigy 5 help my vision?
So, yeah, absolutely. So the question was in relating to blocked glands. This is a condition of tear glands in the eyelids that are not producing enough tears because they're getting blocked. So that is something where you have a mechanical obstruction of the tear glands, and that requires mechanical treatments that open up those tear glands. So after those treatments are done, keeping the glands open would be assisted by Prodigy 5 in terms of reducing oxidation and helping one make better tears that are more lubricating. However, the actual obstruction, the actual blockage of glands needs physical treatment by your ophthalmologist.
You know, can you actually go into more detail about the formulation of Prodigy 5 and how that actually benefits eye health?
Sure. So we selected ingredients that were shown to be of benefit in clinical studies. The AREDS 1 and the AREDS 2 studies looked at lutein, zeaxanthin, zinc, and copper. The women's antioxidant health study looked at vitamin B6, B12, and folic acid. And this series of clinical studies, each one of these initiatives had several different studies within them, demonstrated that we were able to achieve reduction in the onset of macular degeneration as well as reduction in the progression of macular degeneration. And again, macular degeneration is the leading cause of blindness. This is a disease that affects millions of Americans and Europeans and Japanese. It's the #1 cause of blindness in the industrialized world. So that is a key piece of clinical data, or multiple key pieces of clinical data on eye health.
Thank you. I think that's a great segue to go to Dr. Saucedo about the studies that have went into also the formulation of Prodigy 5 in regards to general health and it being a perfect multivitamin. Could you expound on that for us?
Well, to answer that question about general health, I'd have to just refer back to what Dr. Amabati spoke about. We used essentially 50 years of research, of clinical trials, peer-reviewed studies in the area of general health as it relates to deficiencies in micronutrients. We looked at an American Medical Association study that was commissioned that identified 9 very specific vitamins and minerals, including antioxidants, that affect general health. In addition to that, as Bala said, we looked at a huge study, 2 studies called the ARED studies and the women's antioxidant studies. Those are the highlights of the science behind the micronutrient formulation that we put together, and it's the collective effect of all of these that really affect general health.
Thank you so much. I'm going to dive into another question that was submitted by a member who's a smoker, and the question was straightforward. I'm a smoker, so how can Prodigy 5 help me?
So smoking causes a lot of damage to multiple organs in the body. And the first piece of advice would be to this individual would be to recognize the challenge that smoking poses and seek help in trying to quit. I think that's the most important thing. With respect to Prodigy 5, it has ingredients that slow down oxidation, which is induced by smoking. Tobacco and cigarette combustion can promote oxidation, and oxidation damages multiple organs of the body. Prodigy 5 also has ingredients that help improve blood flow and lower blood pressure, which are things that smoking can interfere with. So those would be specific areas where Prodigy 5 would make a difference to somebody who smokes. I'm not advocating Prodigy 5 as a cure for the ails of smoking. I think you still need to seek help to reduce and eventually quit tobacco use, but it would help mitigate some of the damage from it.
Thank you. In fact, another member is a vegetarian, very strict vegetarian, who actually said she was a little disturbed about an ingredient in Prodigy 5. So why are there ox bile salts in Prodigy 5, she wonders?
Well, we did studies on many different substances looking at which substance might affect the oral mucosa to facilitate absorption of nutrients. And among them were the ox bile salts, which are purifications of ox bile. This has been studied extensively by multiple investigators around the world. There are excellent studies showing that it's safe and effective for augmenting absorption through the oral mucosa. We followed that up with our own studies, and it worked very effectively to augment absorption across the oral mucosa in the in vitro studies that we did on ox bile.
Thank you. And since we're kind of staying on the topic of phase 1, because that's about phase 1, I'm just wondering, another member submitted a question about not feeling hungry throughout the day after taking Prodigy 5 every morning. So is Prodigy 5 suppressing this member's appetite?
Well, there's one way that our bodies can tell us that it needs nutrients, whether it's calories or whether it's a vitamin or a mineral. It tells us that by being hungry. And unfortunately, in the Western diet, the foods we eat are processed, over-processed. They're deficient in a number of micronutrients. And so we eat. Our body says we're hungry, so we eat. But the problem is that we don't get all those micronutrients that we need, all of the vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. And so the only message the body can send is, I'm still hungry. So we eat. And it starts this cycle of overeating while still not solving the problem, the underlying problem, that is the deficiency of these critical nutrients. So in Prodigy 5, as you begin to replace and normalize the micronutrient levels, the antioxidant levels in Prodigy 5, your appetite is sated. You aren't as hungry. And because you're not as hungry, because the body has what it needs, weight tends to come off. If you combine that consciously with some exercise, involve your doctor, with changing your diet, improving habits in your life, you can really have a tremendous effect with Prodigy 5 and weight loss.
Phenomenal. You know, Dr. Amabati, there was a question posed by a member about the vitamins in Prodigy 5, and specifically was wondering if you could explain the differences between vitamins K1 and K2, and if they're both ingredients in Prodigy 5.
So vitamin K is a vitamin that promotes proper blood clotting. K1 and K2 are different isoforms of the vitamin K molecule, and vitamin K was included in the original AREDS formulation. So within vitamin K, there will be both of these isoforms, and so they are part of Prodigy 5. If someone is on a medication called a blood thinner, I would certainly consult with their doctor about the use of Prodigy 5 and possibly adjusting the dose of the blood thinner based on their medical condition.
And that actually leads into another question that I hope you can answer, because we have a member who's been using Prodigy 5 with other products of ForeverGreen, like Fix, Pulsate, and Keto Brew, and they're very concerned of a possibility of hypervitaminosis. Is that a possibility?
So the main vitamins that can cause hypervitaminosis, if you ingest too much vitamins that can cause problems, are vitamin A, D, and B6. The amount of vitamins in Prodigy 5 is far, far below the amount necessary to cause hypervitaminosis. Now, I don't know exactly how much of these other products this individual is using, and I suppose it's theoretically possible to take too much of all of these products put together. So it would be something where I would ask them to put down on paper, you know, how much they're exactly doing, and we can do some calculations to address that question.
And I'd add that depending on which ones they're taking, you mentioned Fix, which is the chocolates shake that is a meal replacement. That specifically shouldn't have any problems at all working with Prodigy 5, because all of the nutrients coming from the Fix shake are based on organic, pure foods. There's no supplementation there. There are other products like Pulsate that has supplementation of some of the vitamins, but the levels, as in Prodigy 5, are moderate. The levels aren't high. And so it would be unlikely that they would have an experience with hypervitaminosis. But again, if you're taking more than a couple of supplements, nutritional supplements, I think you should involve your physician. I think you should involve your doctor, no matter whether you're changing your diet or exercise or other important factors in your life. And I think that's a safe approach to this.
Great. The next question is kind of far from, vitamins, but one of our members, after drinking Prodigy 5 on a daily basis, noticed that her hair had stopped falling out. She's wondering why that is, and potentially if her immune system, if it got used to the product, if her hair would resume falling out.
So I can take that. I'm not going to claim that we have the cure for baldness or anything, but what Prodigy 5 would do is reduce oxidative stress. That leads to reduced aging of cells in the body. And by doing that, I think that would improve skin texture and hair texture and volume. Now, do we have any clinical studies on that? No, but I think it would be logical to induce that the ingredients that are antioxidant, anti-aging in Prodigy 5 would be helping what this individual observed. And I would expect that to be a long-term effect, that as long as she stayed on Prodigy 5, that she should continue to experience that benefit.
Oh, perfect. That leads into another question. A member noticed that he was sleeping better and he was getting more quality sleep, and he wants to know, why is that after taking Prodigy 5?
I'll take that. I think it arises from the fact that he is balancing the micronutrients and his overall nutritional status. As we eat the foods that we need, as our body has what it needs to function properly, all different aspects of our lives change, including the quality of sleep, including the quality of our waking time. We tend to think more clearly, we tend to have less stress, and it certainly can affect the quality of sleep as well.
Of his mood and energy, and noticed that it had improved dramatically. And so his question is, what in this product is causing this? Because I love the new me.
I just answered that in the last one. And again, is so many of us in the Western diet that we eat is deficient in the nutrients that our bodies require. Prodigy 5 helps to replace those, normalize those. And as we normalize our body in terms of its nutritional status, many things change, including having more energy and thinking clearly, feeling better. So it doesn't surprise me that he's having those effects, and I think that's why.
I would just like to conclude with a final question posed to both of you in regards to this amazing product, Prodigy 5. There's just nothing like it on the market. So what are your expectations with ForeverGreen members and how far they can take Prodigy 5?
I think Prodigy 5 has a very bright and promising future in many different ways. In America and in Europe and the West, we have substantial deficiencies of nutrients that are propagated by the lack of a healthy diet, lots of processed foods, and so on. And so we can correct those nutrient imbalances. In Africa and much of the third world, there's a separate issue of insufficient nutrients to begin with, where people don't get enough food. And so I think there's a possibility there to improve global health by using Prodigy 5 to provide the nutrients in the first place to a poor population.
My thoughts are that we can address probably the number one ailment that faces our race, and that is nutritional deficiency. And again, whether it, as Bala was saying, it's the poor nations in the third world, or those of us in the first world, we all have deficiencies in nutrition that arise from different places, for different reasons. But if you look at the World Health Organization numbers on the incidence of individuals with at least a deficiency in one micronutrient, the numbers approach billions. And so Prodigy 5 has the potential to help the lives of all of those people. And we're talking billions of people across the world. So in my hopes and dreams, that Prodigy 5 will move forward to help to alleviate a lot of the suffering going on in the world because we aren't getting the nutrition that we need. And I hope that the distributors in ForeverGreen will realize this and go out and share Prodigy 5 and hopefully try to address this issue.
There's just so much opportunity to make an impact and make a tremendous difference.
I would agree with that. The potential of Prodigy 5 gives me a sneaking suspicion that there's something more to come. Can you kind of hint of maybe what the future holds with this trans-armor technology? Is there something beyond Prodigy 5 members can look forward to?
Yeah, I can take that, and I can tell you that I work with ForeverGreen regularly, and I meet with the leadership, the executive team, actually everybody at ForeverGreen. It's a great place to hang out. I enjoy it. But what's been on the table lately is a discussion of adding trans-armor nutrient technology to other products to augment the nutrition in those products. And there are at least three new products that we're working on, that we're formulating. I just tasted one yesterday. That should be coming in a month, 2 or 3 down the road.
That is amazing, and we are really excited. And so actually, to conclude this webinar series, I just want to thank both of you for sharing your time and your expertise, and our members who submitted the questions. Other than that, I would just like to thank you both and look forward to our next webinar in this series.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks so much. Appreciate the opportunity. Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.